everybody?
Nobody is
Nobody's
here
here?
yet. Well, let me
Okay.
check because I didn't see anybody. Wait. Oh, okay, hold on. There we go. I had to close my speaker off. Yeah, nobody's here.
Okay.
There we go. Donna's here.
Hi, Donna.
Okay, you got 3 people watching, or you got 3 likes, 3 watching. So just let them say hi, and I'll back out. It's all you. Hi, Donna. Shit's not her here today. She's home. It's just Laura. Stick around, and it's all her show. So as people come in, hopefully come in. I'll get
Yeah,
out of
hopefully
here.
we'll get a few more. Yeah, no worries. No
I'll
worries.
stick
You know,
around.
and if you'd rather, be more comfortable without having the camera on, turn,
I'm
turn
good for right now. When
go
people
to your
start
icon
showing
off.
up,
Yep.
dude, let me see
Yep.
something. Did we redo this on Facebook? Did
I
somebody
do not.
repost?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been busy all afternoon. I've peeked at Facebook a couple of times for like
Right.
30 seconds, and that's been it.
What is going on? Huh. Where is it? Where is it? There it is.
Bear with us, folks. We're
Yeah, we're here. Anybody else here?
checking
Oh,
things out.
Vixen's here. Hello, Vixen. I'm not going to stay. I'm going to let her take over here in a minute. I'm just hanging.
Yep, we're just chilling out, just like what we normally do. See, I've been going through some of my books to see what I
Oh,
could
okay.
find
Mike
on
J's
fairy
here.
tales.
Okay, well,
You
and
know,
bye, guys. It's all Laura now. You guys have a good night. I'll be in the background.
he's abandoning me. Oh
Yep,
no.
you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, thank you for all of you who have joined and those that might watch later in the future. I appreciate you coming. Um, like I was just telling Ghost Dragons, my brain hasn't been all here today. So I am kind of going to be playing this off the cuff. Thought maybe I'd tell you, just a touch base. I went on vacation. We had a wonderful time. Got to meet some of the Spaced Out Radio fam out there and had great adventures. Got to go star watching, sky watching. My husband actually and I got to play with the night vision goggles, and he actually got to see something anomalous in the sky, this big metal triangle, and that was kind of cool. We had fun. Um, I actually got to meet a lady on the way out that, I've talked before about synchronicities. Well, it was definitely a synchronicity. So when I have to travel because of my disability, my husband will set up for a wheelchair for me in the airports. I have to take a lot more breaks. I can walk. That's not a problem. I have to take a lot more breaks. And so it makes a lot longer to get from point A to point B. And so he's pushing me along, and we stop for a moment. There's a lady there who has a bag on her shoulder, and I notice cute little purple bag. She turns around, sees my hair. We compliment each other on the purple, and then we wind up when we get on our first flight out, um, taking the same aisle next to each other and striking up the conversation. Well, as it turned out, this particular lady, she was actually from California, was headed on her way back, and she was meeting up with a couple of family members um, and her sister. And she was telling me about how she had been dealing with her mother's estate and, all the craziness that goes along with when you've got a loved one who's maybe in their golden hour, or, you've they've left this world and you're dealing with stuff afterwards and who gets what, so on. Um, and she mentioned that, you know, she was really enjoying our conversation and brought up that her brother and father had passed within the previous couple of months. Um, and she was worried, about, how would they uh, feel about how she's taking care of her mom and so on and so forth. And as I'm listening to her, I started getting the mental images of an older gentleman. Um, I began to describe him. I said, I know this is out of the blue. We haven't really touched on paranormal and how you feel about it, but this is who I am. And I tend to get mental images, um, visions, if you want to call them that, claircognizant knowings, um, that can sometimes be a message or be helpful to that person. And she said, absolutely, she was a very much a believer. So I began to describe this gentleman to her that I kept getting these images of, and being an older gentleman and wearing a plaid shirt, particular type of cap that he wore. And she looked at me and she grasped my hand and she said, that's my dad. And I began to explain to her what I saw him doing. And it turned out that it was a message that only she would understand, that yes, what she's doing is she's doing it right. She was making all the right decisions, and that even if things didn't work out the way she wanted them to, that was still okay. Um, and by the time that we got off the plane, it was a short trip, because we were just flying into Las Vegas. Um, she she cried, she laughed, we'd exchanged email addresses, and she thanked me tremendously, for helping her have a healing moment. And the joy that gave me, um, at the very beginning of our trip, was just tremendous. Knowing that the information I was receiving was correct, that it meant something important to her, and that it would have a positive impact. And so, for a lot of us with these abilities, with these sensitivities, to be able to have that kind of confirmation and validation, it's just as important to us as it is for the person who's receiving that information to have that confirmation from spirit, that validation from spirit as well. And so I just wanted to share that little bit with you, um, and how tremendous it can be. So if Gemma says something to you, say on the Wednesday night readings when she does the card pulls, and she hits a home run, um, or you come back a week later and say you have no idea how right you were. It means a lot, and a lot more than you probably realize. So I just want to say thank you for all of those of you that do come back and give that feedback to her, to me, to all the others out there who have been given these gifts to give messages to help others. So, I know a couple of you had asked about a couple of things for me to talk about tonight. One was talking about fairies and, talking about maybe fairy gardens and things like that. So I'll be honest, I'm not prepared to do that in full. I'll talk a little bit about what I know, um, but I really want to get you a well-rounded bit of information before I go whole hog, if you will, with it. The bottom line of it is if you feel called to work with the Fae, you must educate yourself. You must take precautions and protect yourself just in the exact same way that you would working with any other spirit, any other deity, any other entity, whether it be Bigfoot or ET or your angels. There are certain things that you do to protect your soul, yourself. Um, a couple of them being, unless you have a specific agreement or rapport, you don't want to necessarily have fairy gardens inside your home. Outside, in the garden, not a problem. But inside, you are literally inviting them to come into your home. And some of them, not all, but some of them can be tricksters. They can be mischievous. They can be malicious. And they can be vicious. If you look at the old Irish fairy tales, Scottish fairy tales, um, there are many instances of them taking someone who has maybe they've offered, rum or milk or what have you in a fairy circle, and uh, then the next day have forgotten. They come um, back the next third time, and they either are taken or they're injured or then they get followed home and everything breaks, they start having bad luck. So there's a lot of legends and lore around the Fae and working with them as an entity, um, that I want to make sure I give you the best information that I can as far as that goes. Personally, I have worked with the Fae before, and it was as an appeasement when I moved into this property. Um, because when we first got here, there was a fairy ring in the yard. Um, Fairy rings can come in many different forms. It can be a ring of trees, it can be a ring of stones. Um, in this case, it was a more traditional. It was a mushroom ring, and there was a circle of mushrooms with a bare spot, and nothing would grow inside of that bare spot. Now, botany, biology would say, okay, it's probably because of the mushrooms themselves, but Gemma and I are the kind of folk that tend to lean into the supernatural a little bit more. And so, since I saw that there was this fairy ring in the yard, um, I made an appeasement, and I actually would put mead out for them when I was a mead brewer, on holidays. And so, let's see. I've got a message. Aunt Edna ever heard of them visiting children in the night? So I can't say specifically that I have. However, I'll have to look up in the fairy tales that I've got. I've got a couple of different books, um, because I don't see why they wouldn't. Okay. Um, so one of the ones that I don't remember well, but I recall from childhood is the Shoemaker's Elf. Okay. And that's actually based on an old Irish folk tale. And so the shoemaker would put out offerings, and overnight, the elves, the Fae, would come and they would create all of these shoes and leave them behind for the cobbler, for the shoemaker, to find in the morning, um, so that he could in turn, keep his family fed, but then could also bring more offerings to Fae. That's what they liked. So, I will see what information I can find on, children being visited at night. It's also said that being able to see Fae in the woods can be more easily done at night, and it could be that that's because of less noise distraction, less foot traffic, so on and so forth, but also due to um, some people considering them the entities or beings that you see that are the little balls of white light or blue light in the forest are a manifestation of the Fae. So that could be as well. Can I say for sure? No, I can't. I can only speak to, what I remember and what experiences I've had. Like I said in past, discussion, I've had these blue orbs of light that will travel through my home that I just I instinctively called them house fairies because that's what it reminded me of was, the light that you would see like on a firefly or a small fairy. So were they? I can't say for sure. Were they some form of energy that seemed to have an intelligence to it? That I can say. To me, yes, they did. To my animals, yes, they did. My husband even. So, honestly, like I said, I did not come prepared for a huge uh, evening. The day has just been very scattered for me, and I'll explain to you why. So, most of you know, I have a condition called fibromyalgia, and it's compounded by many other things. Um, I have medications that I am required to take that kind of help control the pain level. And then I have environmental factors. For me and for a lot of people with fibromyalgia, when the barometric, I can say that, barometer changes pressure um, drastically, like in my case when thunderstorms roll through, um, we feel it more so. And so the pressure going up and down, it's it can actually be very painful. But it also, by triggering that higher pain response, depletes the serotonin and dopamine in your system, which in turn is what helps you to fight the pain, but it also deals with your cognitive abilities and uh, clarity of thought. Okay. So it gives brain fog. Um, and then the pressure itself, think about when you've got somebody squeezing you really tight and they're giving you a big hug. So our bodies will feel that barometer change like that squeeze. And in my case, my back will actually Charlie horse all down the right side. And so the last 36 hours or so, I look outside, the sky is starting to at least show some blue. We've been having thunderstorms. And as those storms push in, and I know most of you have seen this or encountered it, in front of it the wind gets really severe until those clouds actually get over you, or the storm gets over you. And then you've got the clouds, then the rain releases some of that pressure that has built up from the wind and the clouds moving in. And then those clouds push out, which again is another pressure change. And so you're dealing with an all day of up and down and up and down of pressure changes that it can get pretty tiring. And so again, I apologize for being off my game tonight. Let me see. There was one thing though that I wanted to flip through here. Uh, so, um, one of the things that I did want to touch on is that, and I was thinking about this the other day, listening to, I think it was Texas Front Porch, and listening to Bigfoot Michigan Rob, um, and talking about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and talking about how in the paranormal world, cryptid world, UFO world, that there's a lot of conflict going on between the different communities and all of that. And one of the things that I've noticed that is happening is there are folks that are, how do I put this? Um, they're belittling. And when I say that, I mean they're taking somebody that they don't like, and I do not discount their reasons for disliking or liking any single individual. But they're taking their dislike and then they're projecting that out to other people, and doing so by either making posts or Twitter, what have you. And while some of them are doing it because they get the attention, it's the bully syndrome. Um, some of it are doing it unconsciously, and they're just trying to voice their dislike of whoever it is. And I think as a community, we need to always self reflect before we speak against someone in a derogatory manner. Um, you know, if I say I don't like my husband because XYZ, but that's my opinion, and leave it at that, then that's one thing. But if I were to say, you know, I don't dislike him because he's a ding dong doodaloo, now wait a minute. Is that really necessary? Does that help the situation? Um, see, does that make me as bad as that person? Maybe in some ways it does. Maybe in some ways it doesn't. But it also comes around to what you believe and what truths you hold dear. Okay? And so when I tell you about a personal experience that I've had, that's something of me, by me, for me. It's something that I have experienced that I am relating through my eyes and through my experiences, whether it be, one single time or over the years. And so that's my truth, but that may not be your truth. So to come back at someone for dislike, saying that if they're giving false information, or something like that, I think we need to rethink that. You know, is it? false, or is it something that maybe that is not your truth? You know, I'll just say it, I have some friends that are Christian. I do not consider myself, quote, Christian. I consider myself spiritualist. That is not my truth, but I respect that it's theirs. I don't have to agree with it, but I can respect that it's theirs. And so, it's just something else that we need to look at. Another thing that occurred to me going back around, and I'm traveling in circles, and this is what my brain does on fibro, back around to the Fae is with Bigfoot, with Sasquatch, the idea that um, either they're a flesh and blood being or they're an interdimensional or other type of being causes a lot of conflict. But in what I do know, what I do remember about the fairy folk, the Fae, is they come in all kinds of shapes, sizes, forms, and beings. Uh, so you've got the trolls. Trolls are a form of fairy folk. You've got the nymphs. You've got water nymphs. You've got wood nymphs. And again, different types of fairy folks. And if you look at their descriptions, um, they don't necessarily look anything alike. You know, if you think of a Bigfoot, you don't necessarily think of a house fairy or a troll or a water nymph. But could it be that what we think of as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, could it be that they are a species of fairy folk? Just some food for thought there. It's a rabbit hole that could go very deep, and it's one that I've already started traveling down. So, let me know what you think about it. Whether you want to type it in the chat now or you want to leave it in the comments later. All I ask is keep an open mind and be respectful. Be kind. You know, I think if we're all just a little bit more kind to each other, a little bit more respectful to each other, we'll get a lot more answers. Um, let's see, what else did I want to touch base on about? Let me take a quick look at my notes. That's one thing that you'll find is I do tend to keep notebooks and notes around me all the time. And so, oh, okay. So I think last time I talked to you, um, I talked to you a little bit about some of the classes that I'm in, excuse me, with Sarah Lemos, with Sage Goddess, and so on. And lately, one of the things that we're doing is in Sarah's class on Wednesdays, we do a breakout room where, because we all get together via Zoom, halfway through, we will split off into pairs and actually do card readings for each other. Okay. Now, myself, like Gemma, I've done some version of card readings for a long time. I started when I was a kid. I did tarot and then later moved on into different types of oracle, split off from that, did other types of readings, have kind of circled back around. But in the class, it's been really nice to get that one on one practice with someone who is also either reawakening or awakening their abilities for the first time um, in a relaxed setting where it's a judgment free zone. So, okay, maybe only one piece of information that I bring forth rings true, but at least I'm getting the practice in, okay, how did I receive that information? How did that translate when I spoke that information? How was I able to get the message through clearly or not? And so for me to be able to um, not only get the confirmation for myself, but to give that confirmation to someone else in their journey, is very rewarding. And one of the things that we are working with, and I know I spoke about this before, was agreements. And so I wanted to just explain that just a little bit further if I could. So agreements are what things mean to you. Or in the case of like an oracle deck, I've got a couple of them here. It's what things meant to the author when they were creating the deck, and then as you're working with that deck, what do you agree with between the deck, your spirit guides, spirit, and yourself? So, like this herbal astrology deck, which I'm really starting to enjoy. You go through, and so they've got different pieces of information throughout it. And I highly encourage each and every one of you that's interested in maybe purchasing your own oracle deck, um, learning to use your intuitive abilities, learning to do readings, to um, take the time to go to one of the stores where you can actually look at these more detailed books and see just how much information they put into it. And then go back and think about colors. Just start with colors. Don't do anything else. And like what Sarah had us do was rapid pace, take one color, like the color red, and write down three things, the first three things that come to your mind. It could be, I think of the color red, roses, um, passion, stop. Uh, so what she had us do, take it a step further, was write down three positives and three negatives for each thing. For myself, to get you started in understanding signs and synchronicities from spirit is to make a color list, do the chakras, just do the rainbow, um, and what those colors mean to you. So if you're going through your day and, gosh, I found a yellow feather, and then I saw a yellow bird, and then out of nowhere someone gave me yellow flowers. What does the color yellow mean to you? And what kind of a sign could that be from spirit through those synchronicities of those things showing up? Um, what kind of message would that be for you? Then, as we go further, you can start doing it with other things. You could do it with numbers. You can do it with animals. You can do it with objects. Sarah had us do it with professions. What's the first image that you think of when you think of a policeman? To me, policeman's cap. Second image is a badge. Okay. What's the negative side of that? Okay. I think of maybe someone in handcuffs or being put in handcuffs, things like that. So understanding how we receive these thoughts, these images, these messages from our guides, from our guardians, is going to help us navigate through our daily world as people with sensitivities, as people with abilities, as people who are awakening and understanding this magical world that's all around us. So I really hope that that helps you. I really hope that, again, if you've got questions about such things, that you will leave comments, that you will um, be kind as you do so, and that you will continue to support Gemma and support her efforts as well. I'm probably going to wrap this up a little early this evening, just looking at the time, but I first want to encourage all of Gemma's viewers, all of you wonderful people out there, to consider, if you haven't, go and buy her books. They're all three available on Amazon. They are in the description links on her channel for her streams, and they are wonderful, absolutely wonderful books. Secondly, I want to encourage you on the 5th to go subscribe to the Paranormal 60 YouTube channel, the Paranormal 60 YouTube channel with Dave Schrader is going to have Gemma on as a guest on the 5th at, I believe it is 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay? If you go on there, you subscribe, hit the notification bell, it'll let you know, and you should be able to even see upcoming shows listed as well. And go over there, show her some love and support in the chat, leave a message afterwards, honestly, and continue to go back to Dave's channel because he is a wonderful person. I am so happy that I've gotten to um, meet him and then have gotten to know him through both his channel and his Facebook. And he is very open minded, very kind individual, like minded, like me, like all of you. And I know that you will enjoy it just as much as I do. The community over there is really fun, especially on the Wednesdays. They do the Paranormal 60 news. And yes, they get silly, they have fun, they laugh, they get us to laugh. Um, you get good information and time to bond as a community, just like we do with Gemma. And nice thing is, that show doesn't come on till right after Gemma ends her stream on Wednesday nights. So you can hop from one straight over to the other. So with that, uh, again, show Gemma some support. Give her a message if you are interested. I know she's doing half price readings for the month of July if you book them anytime in June. Um, so I believe that's a $20 per reading. And she really puts time and effort and love into those readings. So they're very well worth it. So, consider doing that. And it helps her out a lot. Remember, she's got her PayPal, her Cash App, all of that. YouTube as well for super chats is great, but they do take a lot. And so it's a much bigger help if we can do those directly to her. So with that, Stephen, I am going to have you um, take me out here in just a moment. I'm going to say goodnight and love to each and every one of you. I'm sorry that it's much shorter than normal. It's just been a very hectic week, hectic day, and thank you all for being here.
Good night, everybody. Thanks
Much
for hanging
love.
with us. Take care.